Howdy, y'all. So, how do you monitor yourself with ADHD? How do you determine if you are in sync with the universal timeline, and if your medications are working and so on? So, self monitoring is not a strength of ADHD. It's something that we have to be super intentional about. But how do you check in with yourself and adjust as needed? So, staying in sync, check ins and staying in the zone. Scheduling check ins is really important, and it allows you to determine if you're kind of like still in sync with where you think you should be throughout the day. And, this can kind of go back to using time blocking as a way of, planning out your day, or any other system that you're using to figure out what you should be doing and when. But so scheduling that check-in, you're going to have to use alarms. You're going to have people remind you. You'll have to have post-it notes. It all has to be external because you won't remember, and that's working memory. You can't help it. But if you're not in sync, look back. How have the last few days been? How have the last few hours been? Did you take your medicine? Did you sleep? Did you eat? Did you exercise? Have you gotten socialization? Did you shower? Have you been hyper-focusing, spending too much time scrolling? Did you overcommit and not refuel? So, once you're in sync for a few days straight, write down what you've been doing. Because this is your baseline maintenance plan, and then you can refer back to that when you slip and dip, because you will, and that's okay. And writing this down somewhere where it's quite prominent and you can see it and refer to it often and maybe adjust it, so maybe something like a whiteboard or something like that can be really helpful. But this would be sort of the next thing. You can print this tool out and put it on your refrigerator or your bathroom mirror, or at your cubicle, at your desk at work, etc. So this is what I call the zones of ADHD decision tool. And this is kind of like, you can see when you do your check-in, where are you on the pyramid? If you're finding yourself in the blue zone, you are feeling blue, you're drained, exhausted, zoned out, bleh, meh. Again, did you take your meds? Did you eat? Did you sleep well last night? And the action for you to do is to perform extra self-care. Self-care is always the first step. Honor a time-limited recharge. Honor the recharge. But make sure it's time-limited. And examine the days that have led up to this for the clues. And also, what are the things that actually recharge you? Scrolling on your phone for 20 minutes is an escape, but it's not a recharge. That's not going to refuel the cognitive resources that you need to get through the rest of the day. So figuring out what the things are that refill your tank. And the one thing that has been demonstrated in studies to create a maintenance increase in the level of fuel in our motivation and like cognitive resource tanks is regular aerobic exercise. And I know that's really hard to do, but it is something that works. So even, 10 minutes of movement is something that can be recharging. But also, you might need to just go be in a quiet place and like reduce all stimulation for 10 minutes, especially if you've been like in the grocery store or you went to Walmart. Where the music is blaring and there's so much, stimulation. But if you do all of these things and you don't move to the green zone within 3 days, if you are staying down here in the blue zone for more than 3 days, you may need to contact me, because you may need a medication adjustment or some other kind of adjustment. Or, maybe it's not me, maybe I'm not managing your stuff, but contact your provider. And again, like I said, if you're in that green zone and you've been there, like you've been on a roll, write down everything you're doing. Write it down. Write down everything that you've done for the previous 3 to 7 days, because that's your maintenance plan. And if you don't write it down and you dip down into the blue zone for a couple days, you won't remember what you were doing that was making you feel good. Okay, what if you're in the red zone? What if you just feel like everything is chaos and you are super scattered? You're jittery, shaky, you have tight shoulders, clenched jaw. Here are the questions to ask. Did you eat? Did you accidentally double up on your meds? Are you using a pill minder? Because pill minders for people with ADHD are probably critical. Because sometimes we can literally have the bottle in our hand and our water bottle in the other hand, and we zone out for like a second and we don't know, did I take my medication? I literally don't know. But if you have a pill minder, you'll know, because you'll flip up that Tuesday slot, and if the pill's still in there, you know you didn't take it. But so you could actually accidentally double up on your meds. You could be taking a new medication that is interacting with your meds. Or if you've taken your medication at the normal dose and you've only had 3 hours of sleep the night before, the combination of that and the stimulant can just trigger, like sleep deprivation in general will trigger ADHD symptoms. In fact, people who don't have ADHD, who become sleep deprived for 3 days straight, will develop and exhibit full-on ADHD symptoms. So if you have ADHD and you're sleep deprived, it makes sense that your symptoms will get bad. So self-care, first step, always self-care. Perform lots of it. Increase protein and water, because maybe you haven't eaten. You may have forgotten to eat because you may have hyper-focused on something and you completely skipped lunch, and you have no appetite because of your stimulant medications. But your brain is a glucose obligate. What that means is that brains do not function well if they do not have a sufficient amount of glucose. So you have to be putting regular inputs of nutrition into your body for your brain to work properly. So go back, make sure you eat some protein, get a snack. Also some glucose. So, have a yogurt or something, a fruit yogurt or some fruit and a piece of cheese, that kind of stuff. And hydrate. There have actually been studies done where they looked at hydration levels and mental health. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because our brains use up, I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's something like 80% of all of the nutrient and water coming into our body. And so if we are not eating enough and not drinking enough, the first place that any of that is going to show up is going to be here in our cognition. So drink, hydrate. Again, if you're not moving to the green zone within 3 days, and, if you're in the red zone, if it's getting worse, over a period of 24 hours even, then you need to seek urgent care or urgent medical advice. And call me. If it's after hours, you might need to call, or you can direct message me. And if you don't hear from me, because I will sometimes not be able to get to those messages, and you are feeling terrible, then you may need to go to urgent care. So anyway, these are the zone tools for how to know, how to read your body, your ADHD body, because, we lack some of the ability to monitor how we're feeling and keep up and adjust our behavior throughout the day to maintain a steady state. So hopefully these 2 tools can help you do that, and let me know what you think.